Are you planning on going anywhere this year? We talked about RVs a little bit earlier and how they were so popular last year, but something that's happening may change that this year. We're talking about gas prices. Apparently, for the first quarter of this year, the average price of gas across the country has gone up 50 cents. The average price of gas, $2.87. Now, it's not the highest on record, but it's much higher compared to what it had been. Don Redman is with AAA and joins us this morning to talk about those gas prices, why they're going up, and how we could be infected here in Mississippi. Good morning, Don.
Good morning.
How are you today?
I'm well, thank you for asking.
Well, great. So we're hearing across the country gas prices have gone up. I don't think that I've seen that increase as much here in Mississippi. Are we somewhat insulated here?
Well, we are among the 10 cheapest states in the country in terms of gas prices. We're looking at a statewide average of about $2.57 a gallon. Compare that to many of the states out west, which are already over $3 a gallon, and California is at over $4 a gallon. So, yeah, compared to where some of those states are out west, we're in much better shape in Mississippi.
You can certainly understand why the Californians drive little small cars. I mean, $4 a gallon. That is crazy. I would assume that it's always, when you look at numbers like this, it's typically always supply and demand. But you would think demand would be lower because so many people are still working from home.
Well, we are actually seeing demand only about 3% below where we were in 2019. So, I think it may be a lot of pent-up demand. People just want to get out. We've been cooped up for a year or so, and so many restrictions on where we can go and what we can do. And you're seeing a number of states lifting those restrictions, and people are taking advantage of it. So that's, so we've seen this. Consider this time last year, the gas price average in Mississippi was $1.49. Again, we're about $2.57 now. Even at $1.49, nobody was traveling because there was no demand. Like I said, everything was locked down. But now we're starting to see, the country starting to open up. I think people are feeling more confident in the vaccines and other measures that they're just wanting to get out. So we've seen the price of crude increase from $25 a barrel back in last May to now looking about $63 to $65 a barrel, and that's what's really fueling some of the increase in the gasoline prices is the price of crude. But now adding to the mixture in the past couple of months has actually been demand. People are beginning to thaw out and looking for adventures on the road, and like I say, the demand is just about 3% below what we saw in 2019.
I didn't realize that it was almost $1 more than it was this last year. That's a huge difference for a lot of Americans, especially truckers. You think about truckers and how much that's going to impact us in so many ways, isn't it?
Oh, it is. There's no doubt that the increased prices in fuel has an increase, and I think some people have already seen it in the stores and the grocery stores and other. The higher price for fuel definitely has a rippling effect throughout the entire economy.
Don, does AAA predict that this will continue? Is there any hope that we might see a change in the next quarter, or is this going to be all year long?
Yeah, I think that once we get settled into the summer, we'll see some of the prices come down a little bit. I mean, we've been holding steady, relatively steady, for the past month. I mean, just a month ago, we were at $2.59. We're actually cheaper than we were a month ago. But all this week, we've been hovering around that $2.57 mark. The national average, as you mentioned earlier, is about $2.90. It's very possible that the national average could rise up to $3 a gallon. However, historically, Mississippi has been about 20 to 30 cents cheaper than the national average. So if the U.S. average did get to $3, we could be looking at a statewide average of about $2.70 before we get into the summer. But I really, barring any major disruption, I think we're going to be hold fairly steady because we're seeing the refinery output increasing, and that's always significant. I think utilization right now is about 85%. By the time we get in the summer, it's usually 90, 95%. So to match that demand. So as long as our refineries can keep up and crude doesn't spike beyond what it is right now, I think we could see Mississippi prices holding relatively steady, maybe getting up to an average of $2.60, $2.65. But I really think it's not going to get much higher than that.
It'll be
as we head
interesting.
into the summer.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens because I think still many Americans are looking at road trips for summer, still not quite ready to go some places. The vaccine has had an impact too because many islands now in other countries are requiring you to have proof of a vaccination before they'll let you in the country. And so I think a lot of people are still hesitant about going somewhere and will be on the roads. Will that, if we have a lot of people still doing road trips for summer, RV trips and such, that I assume would have an impact on the demand end of the supply and demand.
You're absolutely right. I mean, all of it is based on things kind of staying relatively the same, and it really does depend a lot on that the refinery output. I mean, are they able to make the product to keep up with the demand? That's going to be a big thing to watch. And as we know, living on the Gulf South, that once we get into June, that's the start of the hurricane season, but things start heating up August, September, October. That's when that's the season within the season, and we know all bets are off in terms of what the potential impact of a storm. Last year was a lot of storms that affected the region. So if we have another repeat of that, and they're forecasting it's going to be a busy hurricane season, it could certainly late summer could affect prices dramatically.
It's so many people we talk about Mississippi that don't live here and don't realize what a great state it can be to live in. We always complain about being at the bottom of the list or being the worst. But I think sometimes what's great about Mississippi is we're never at the high end. We're never at the low end. We tend to be kind of moderate. And it sounds like with gas prices that you talk about we're one of 10 of the cheapest states. Georgia surprised me because Georgia's rates apparently have gone up quite a bit as the nation has gone up. Do you know about that for Georgia? And what other states are in that 10 of the cheapest states that are they all neighbors of ours? Are they in more remote parts of the country?
No, they are definitely neighbors. There's no doubt about that. We're talking Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, Tennessee. Now, the one that really, the outlier, if you will, finish those states, South Carolina, North Carolina, Alabama, Missouri, Arkansas, Tennessee. The outlier for us in the Gulf South is Florida, and that's because of their tax structure more than anything. They got a sales tax on top of their fuel tax. So that's what usually you'll see Florida being much higher than other states in the Gulf South. And I'm not quite sure exactly what their price is right now, but that's probably one of the outliers for the Gulf South. Is Florida, and they're historically 20 to 30 cents higher than us. I think their average right now is like $2.80, so it's about 30 cents higher a gallon than or 20 cents higher than Mississippi. AAA has always been so great about forecasts for travel, how many Americans we expect to be on the roads, flying to destinations. When you see gas prices like this go up, typically when you look at trends, do higher gas prices in the summertime, do they impact Americans who plan to road travel, or do they still just get out there anyway, regardless of the price of gas? What we have always found is that the price of gas by itself doesn't determine whether or not people travel. It's usually the state of the economy. And a great example, again, is last year. I mean, the price for gasoline was $1.49, but nobody was traveling. And we've seen that every time there's been an economic turndown, you see gas prices cheaper, but because of the economies in the dumpster, nobody's traveling. So usually higher gas prices, within reason, we've seen the cutoff being about $3 to $3.50 a gallon for us in the South. That's when we really start cutting back. But about the $2.50 to $2.80 range, we seem to absorb that, and we want, and I really think there's been a whole year we've been cooped up. I think this year people are saying, the heck with higher gas prices. I'm getting out. I'm tired. I'm cooped up. I got to do something.
It's kind of like we feel like we should treat ourselves, right? Like we deserve
it. That's exactly right. Yeah. And as you mentioned, the preferred mode of transportation for the holidays or for the summer is definitely going to be the car. People still not quite confident with flying. Certainly the cruise lines are booking more for the fall, and it's surprising. A lot of these trips are booking up. So if you're making those kind of a big trip plans, either cruise or traveling abroad, we encourage you to see a travel counselor to help you, an advisor that would work out all the ins and outs of, like you said, there's some countries that may require vaccines and all kind of paperwork, and so I'd hate for anybody to try to plan a large trip on their own and
without getting the proper